Oh, you're on. Yeah, the phone person, this should not be hard. I was going to see what Jennifer did, but I can't hear you.
You can't, I'm not talking. Can you hear me?
Not you. I was telling Jennifer.
Oh. All right. So I just sent that to Amber. Did
Okay.
Jennifer, was it screwed up for you as well?
She's still connecting to audio. She's having a hard time connecting to audio for some reason.
Okay. Is this your audio, Jennifer, or 720-937? Yeah, let me unmute you.
Oh.
There you go.
Is that better? Okay.
Yeah, although it would be better if you were merged.
I don't have audio on my computer that works.
No,
well.
I mean, on your computer, it should give you a code for when you dial in, and you enter that 2-digit code, and then to us, it'll just look like you're one thing.
Okay. Let me do it again.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Let me text Amber.
I want this to open here.
I don't know that I have Amber's. Do you have Amber's number, Marisol?
I think you just need to reply all to the calendar because it looks like Amber is in a meeting until 1:30. So,
okay.
Do you just want me to do it real quick?
I got it.
You got it? Okay.
Email guests. Hello, everyone. Okay. Jennifer, are you merged? Are you merged, Jennifer? Not yet. Not it.
Hello?
Hi.
There you are.
Yay! I did it. I can't get this to move over. All right, well.
What do you need to move over?
Well, normally it's on my other screen, but it's not moving over, so I'm just gonna adjust myself. Hi.
Got it.
Hi.
How are you doing? How are you holding up?
Well, this is my fourth one of these calls today. I had a board meeting. I've been on a national webinar. Like, it's just crazy.
Yes.
And energy and equity is big right now. Super good or bad, but yeah, it's good. How are you guys?
We're holding up, or I should speak for myself. I'm holding up okay.
Oh, good.
We're excited about today, me and Marisol.
I love that technology.
Yeah, we're hoping it's a good experiment.
It's pretty cool. I'm going to be looking over here a lot, though, just to see it.
Great. Welcome, Paul. You're on mute.
No longer. Good to see you.
Oh, good. Good to see you. Hello, Stacy. Thank you for joining.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right.
How's council surviving during these times, you two?
Easy. Just trying to keep our constituents from really flipping out. Everybody's frightened at the same time. It really is a challenging time, as we all know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, Liz.
Hi, how are you?
Liz, I feel like I haven't talked to you in so long. Like an actual long time. Not like
I know. It's like
long.
well, yeah, like 3 or 4 days is a long time for us.
That's a long time.
Sort of like every day is 6 months. So.
Yeah.
It does feel like that. Yep.
All right. For those of you who are joining, Tyler, with just a number, if you could click, I'm just going to rename you Tyler, but you should rename yourself. You're not just a number, and Marisol and I know who to call on and the like. Jennifer.
Yeah.
Your
Sorry.
network bandwidth is low, I'm being told. I don't know if there's anything you can do about it.
Okay.
You might have to stop all those old Desperate Housewives episodes. You know, you're streaming at the same time as the task force meeting, right?
Well, I have 2 high school students and my husband, and we're all trying to do this. So.
Yeah.
Wait, is Desperate Housewives on now? I'll see you guys later.
It's all Disney Plus in my household, so.
Who is the 720-236 number?
That's Kathy from Councilwoman Black's office.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, I'm just listening in.
Okay.
So I thought it was muted. Sorry.
Well, I can mute you if you'd like. I unmuted you.
Oh, I thought I heard that. Can you mute me, please?
Sure. All right, let's see.
Did anybody bring snacks?
No,
There will be snacks. That's actually funny because every conference call I've been on, my joke is my daughter has figured out that is when she should come over to me and ask me for cake, ice cream, or, so like if you hear rustling, that's her trying to get open some bag of chips or something.
They learn very quickly the negotiation strategies, don't they?
Yep.
That's right. All right, looks like we have Joelyn. Are you going to turn your video on?
Sorry, I'm listening to another call right now, so I will turn it on as I can. But sorry, I'm trying to be in 2 places at one time.
No problem. No problem.
That's why he's our president. He can do that.
And then, Lori, is that you with changing paces?
Let's see.
Yes, that's Lori.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. I'm going to rename you. Oops. There we go. Amber, I unmuted you. You were auto muted.
Thank you. Hello.
Okay. A few folks are just joining now. Johnny. We'll give people who are just logging in a minute or two. If you are on the phone and can't figure out how to unmute you, even if you've merged your calls, let me know. And I can do that. Hey, Dominique, you just popped up on my screen, so. All right. And I think this must be Michaela. What do you think, Marisol?
How many are we missing? Do we know?
Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
Hey, Jackie. We can't see you yet, Jackie.
There you are.
How many weeks, Jackie?
2 centimeters.
And you're here? I was like, that baby's coming any moment. So.
Wow.
Pretty much.
What?
Yeah, so I'm due to go get induced Monday night, so let's hope it works. Still here.
Wow. Okay, well, should we, in the spirit of our ground rules, should we go ahead and get started? I think so, right? We've got a full agenda today. Hello, everybody. I know that we are in some crazy times right now, and all of us are probably feeling all kinds of emotions. And Jacob and I went back and forth on my good news, but I think that, you know, even in times of crisis, there is always good news to be had. So as we do remind ourselves who's on the call today, I would love it if you could share a piece of good news. It could be that you are on the video and technology is working for you today. It could be that you're maybe enjoying being home. It could be, who knows, you're getting to cook more. I don't know, but I just think that it's really important that we still focus on the positive, because there is a lot of positive still going on in the world right now. So even though there's a lot of craziness too. So I'm going to start. I will just call on somebody. Jackie, I'm actually going to call on you. I'd love to hear, can you just reintroduce yourself to the group and some good news?
Jackie Bouvier. I don't know if it's good or bad news, but I'm still here. And my toddler, my 2-year-old, started this fad where he puts underwears on his head. So that's kind of entertaining during this time.
Jackie, you want to call on somebody?
Sorry, I accidentally muted myself. I'm just going to go here. Jennifer?
Jennifer Grummer, Energy Outreach, Colorado. So my daughter decided on a college, so she's going to Northeastern in Boston. Yeah. And her first semester is in London. So her life is rough. Let's hope it all works out.
Oh my gosh. Jennifer, you want to call on somebody?
Peep, with the best background.
Hi, everybody. I'm Pete Van Heuven, Bicycle Colorado, here in Denver, not in tropical paradise. My parents are both over 80, and they had a contact with their pastor a couple weeks ago who got diagnosed with coronavirus.
Nope. That's not me.
She was born a year ago, so family time is good, and we are all very thankful for each other and our health. All right, Sam.
Me, Sam? Am I the only Sam?
I think you're the only Sam, yeah.
Hello. Hope you guys are all doing well. Same good news. I have loved being able to wake up and help feed my kids breakfast and hang out. Normally, I'm out the door. I'm lucky if one of the kids is awake when I leave, and sometimes at least one of them's asleep when I get home every day. So I'm loving the extra time, and everybody's happy and healthy here. So. Jessica, how about you?
Hold on, Jessica. Let me figure out what's going on.
There we go. I think I'm unmuted. Is that better?
There you go. Yes.
Super. I have invested all the extra time into cooking and doing projects in the kitchen that are complicated and messy. So that's been a fun way to use my creativity and my energy that I have. Tyler.
My good news is that we are one day closer to my wife having our son. We are scheduled to be induced on Sunday evening, so probably my last meeting for a while. But with that, I'll just take a quick second to introduce who's going to be covering for me. Kelly Flanagan, she is my counterpart who mostly covers the Western Slope and our mountain territories. She'll be serving in my place. And we'll also have Craig Eicher from Excel, who covers our Boulder territory. He's going to be just listening in and supporting from a policy standpoint. So that's my news. And I will go with Frank.
Hello, Frank Locantori with the Colfax Ave Business Improvement District. My good news is that with no evening meetings for either me or my wife, we get home-cooked meals, which are delicious and healthy. And I will call on Michaela.
Hello, hello, good afternoon. Michaela Ironshell. I'm with the International Indigenous Youth Council. I would have to say I really enjoy spending time alone, so that's been really nice. Getting my alone time and catching up on lots of work, and I've actually finished a book and starting a new one, so it's been really awesome. I will call on Emily.
Hey folks, really nice to see you. This is Emily Gideon with Colorado Sierra Club, and my piece of good news is that amidst all of this crazy time, my husband and I are under contract on a house. We're going to become first-time homeowners, and yeah, moving from Councilmember Hines' district over to Councilmember Cashman's district. But hopefully, as long as everything goes according to plan. So that's a piece of exciting news and something we've been able to keep moving while we've been home working 10 feet from one another.
Emily, you want to call on somebody?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. How about Thomas?
Hey, Thomas Riggle from Resilient Denver. You know, it's been interesting during this time. We're not really supposed to be seeing people, and I feel like I've actually seen people more, both through the virtual side of things, but I've spent a lot of time out in my backyard just doing work, and all of my neighbors are out doing the exact same thing. So it's been nice. We've gotten to connect, and I think it's weird to see community build through this time, but it's been really good. I will call on Eugene.
All righty, Thomas, thank you, man. Good news. Oh, our oldest daughter is an officer in the military and is sort of overseeing a containment unit on the base there of folks who've tested positive and have medical care coming in, and she thought she might have contracted it, but her test came back negative. So that's our good news. So thankful for that, and thoughtful for folks who are under doctor's care now for it. So, yep. Let's see who has not already. I'll go. Michaela.
Okay. Michaela went. How about Naomi?
Okay, sounds good.
Hi, everyone. Naomi Amaha with the Denver Youth Partnership. So I found out some not great news yesterday that my father had a mini stroke. He lives in California. The good news about that is it was just a mini stroke. He's already back at home, and my mom was able to take time off to be with him. So I'm just trying to stay positive from afar and check in with them. And as soon as I can get on a flight there, I will be there to spend time with them. So yeah, that's kind of my silver lining is that he's doing well and he's at home and not in the hospital.
Do you want to call on someone?
Yes, of course. I will call on Amber.
Yes, thank you. So sure, my good news is that I have a cat, and she has actually been really good all day, and there has been no meowing sounds in the background for any of my conference calls. So I'm very excited about that.
Amber, do you want to call on somebody?
Yes, how about Liz?
Everybody, Liz with the Office of Climate Action, Sustainability and Resiliency. Yeah, I think similar to others, my good news is just that I get to see my daughter a lot more. You know, early school drop off and childcare till 6 and running around makes it hard to spend as much time, you know, and so despite the fact that it's very challenging to be home alone with a 5-year-old, at the same time, it's been really wonderful to like have lunch with her every day and just see her excitement over something that she just did, which you miss when they're at school or in childcare. So, and I would like to call on Grace to introduce herself.
Okay, am I unmuted? Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm new. I'm Grace Rink. I'm the new executive director of the Denver Office of Climate Action, Sustainability, and Resiliency. I just started last Monday. I just arrived and I'm new in town. And I guess easy to say I'm thankful for my sister-in-law and her family who are hosting me. That was always the plan, and now it might be a little longer than expected. But anyway, I'm just really happy to be here. I've actually sat in on a number of the stakeholder outreach meetings, task force meetings over the last week and a half. And so I'm getting a deep dive into all the work that all of you are doing, that you have been doing. I've been trying to read the Trello file as well. So I'm quickly getting up to speed, and I just appreciate all the work that you're doing, and I look forward to listening in today. Thank you. Stephen Shepard hasn't been called on.
Hi, everyone. Stephen Shepard. I'm actually sitting in for Kathy today. She had another thing going on with all of this. I know that everybody keeps getting pulled here and there. But I'm with Building Owner Managers Association, so also commercial real estate. And I'm excited because I found out last night, in spite of everything going on, the 3 of the 6 offers that my nephew, who's graduating from college in May, have come back and said that yes, they are still in the hiring process. So it looks like that he still has some options for work, which is obviously a good thing when we're hearing what's going on. So I was very excited about that, and as well as virtual happy hours. So that's getting me through the weeks.
Awesome.
Let's see if I can.
I have a list if you want me to just find somebody.
How about Kelly? Has Kelly gone?
Hi, I thank you, Tyler, for the introduction. And I guess my good news is that now I get to see about 1 million more thumbnails of people I haven't met yet. So thank you, and I look forward to working with you while Tyler is gone.
How about John?
Hi, everybody. My bit of good news is that I'm with Urban Villages and the Downtown Denver bid. When this all happened, I was nervous we were gonna have to do layoffs because we're heavily involved in the restaurant and hotel business. And we were able to this morning announce our entire staff that we are not doing any layoffs and guaranteeing everybody's job through July. So really positive for everybody on our team. Let's pass it off to Sebastian. Take it away.
Oh, Sebastian, you're on mute.
Thank you for letting me know. Sebastian Andrews, Youth Sustainability Board. I think my good news is that I've been coming up with really random meals for lunch every day. And today was edamame and oatmeal. It was actually really good. So.
Okay. And how about Mike?
So this extrovert who loves going to the office has found exactly 0 to be thankful for, except I have turned my afternoon commute time, where I'm usually on the train, not taking a phone call, into a 40-minute bike ride, and I am half a mile an hour faster down my usual path after just 8 days. So there's something, but I would be gladly back in the office.
Thanks, Mike. How about Jasmine?
Hi, everyone. Jasmine Barca with EcoCycle, and I'm just glad technology is working, and that we have technology, and that the sun is shining. So I'd like to call on Patty.
Hi, everyone. My good news is I was not worried because my daughter was able to utilize a month's stay in Hawaii that her dad had to vacate. And then I got a call that there was a tsunami warning. But the good news is there was no tsunami. And so the background that Peep has is really the background of my daughter. And that is good news.
Great.
And let me see.
We have Veronica.
Veronica is giving out food. Oh, go ahead.
Yes. Yes, I am at the school right now giving out food, and my volunteers calling me saying the truck is here. So I might step out and step back. But my good news is my 15-year-old son is responsible enough to take care of my little one, so I can leave the house when I have to and go back without looking for a babysitter.
Great. Okay. Brandon.
I unmuted you, Brandon.
Hello. How do I share my screen?
If you...
Hello. Well, my good news is I was able to get Catherine home from LSU. We drove back, and since she has some more time, we also got a puppy. I mean, he's super cute.
Great. Brandon, were you trying to get yourself on video or share the screen?
Just video.
So if you move your cursor around, you'll see the start video. There you go.
Got it. Sorry.
No problem. We're all learning.
Okay, I think besides myself and Jacob, did I miss any task force members? I know we have other people observing today, but did I miss any other task force members?
Lori Pace, can you hear me?
Lori.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon, I should say. So my good news is that I have been working on a diversity real estate program that was going to be launched in Vegas, and it was thought that it would be canceled, and it was the last conference that they did prior to it canceling, and it was an international conference, but as a result of it, since it was smaller, everybody came together from different sectors that was not going to be part of the original conference, and we were able to launch it and had some amazing conversations and excited about where it's going next. So thrilled about that. And we all were getting stuck and was able to make it back home to my family. So I'm thrilled about that.
Great. Thanks, Lori. Any other task force members that I missed? Okay. Jacob, do you want to give us some good news?
Sure. I agree. It is a beautiful day out, and my 5-year-old daughter has taken this opportunity to learn how to ride a bike. So that's been really fun.
Awesome. And then as promised, this is Chip. He's the jerk of the two, but this is Chip, you guys asked. And then here is Potato, and Potato's the cuddle bug of the two. So for those of you who are new to the task force, we've been talking about the guinea pigs, Potato and Chip for a while, and I've been asked to share them. So I finally get to share them. So here they are. Okay, so let's talk about what we actually are here to talk about today. Let me go through the agenda, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jacob. So we are working on just a welcome. Today we are going to do a final draft of all of our long-term outcomes and agreements. So Jacob's going to send us kind of how we're going to do that path forward. Then we're going to dive into the meetings in a box feedback. And just we're going to break into some groups and really talk about what resonated with you and what do we need to keep in mind as we look forward to potential solutions. Then the majority of our time today is going to be spending really looking at these Trello boards and organizing the solutions. So we will do some small group work then, and then we will close right at 4:30. So that is our agenda today. And with that, Jacob, you want to take us away?
Sure. So, sorry, a little late to the screen sharing for the agenda review. But so we were going to spend some time talking through the long-term outcomes. However, we decided to extend the time for people to respond to the long-term outcomes because we really wanted to make sure that everyone participated. So thank you to those of you who have responded to that survey. For those of you who have not, please respond by Saturday so that we can then bring our long-term outcomes to consensus moving forward. These are on, we've already agreed to mitigation, but as a reminder, we still have adaptation, resiliency, sustainability as a norm, and equity that we really want to make sure we're in agreement around. So far, there's pretty broad agreement around a lot of them. There's a couple thumbs down and several sideways thumbs. So we'll want to talk through the ones that people have concerns about. So the survey link was sent in an email. If you need it to be sent again, let us know. And Liz just typed that in email to everyone. So we'll just send it out as a practice after this. By tomorrow morning, we'll resend the survey link. Sound good, Marisol? Did you have anything you wanted to add to that? So we are excited that we are going to add additional time to both the next agenda items by not spending as much time on the outcomes. Any questions, though, before I turn it back over to Marisol for the meetings in a box summary discussion? I don't see any hands and nobody's chiming in. So with that, Marisol, back to you, Marisol.
Take it away. Okay, so we are going to, how many of you just on your screen have used the breakout feature so far in your week O life at home? Have you used Zoom breakouts? Anyone? A few of you? Okay, for those of you who haven't, get ready. This is very exciting for facilitators. So what we're going to do is, and I will chat these to everybody, we are going to break you just randomly into groups. We are going to ask that when you get into your group, you assign somebody to be the note taker and somebody to be the timekeeper so you can keep track of time. And we are going to ask you to just talk through the meetings in a box summary. And here are the 3 questions. And again, I'll chat them out so you'll have them. But what we want you to talk about is what really resonated with you about the feedback from Meetings in a Box. What is something you learned? So not only did it resonate with you, but you had no idea and you really learned something new. And then the third is, what do we need to keep in mind as we move into revising our solutions? So we're going to give you 20 minutes to break into your groups. So once you all are broken into breakout groups, go ahead and start your timekeeping for 20 minutes. And then we're going to bring you back, and we're going to have each group report out really high level at those, especially those solutions that we need to keep in mind as we move to the next activity. So again, what resonated with you? What did you learn? And then what do we need to keep in mind as we look at potential solutions? So I will chat those out now. Jacob, did I miss anything to all the participants?
No, I think that's great. And when you say go, I will open. You wanted 4 groups, correct?
Yes, I think 4 groups would be great.
So that'll be about 12 people per group. Those of you who are not officially on the task force will just be put into groups. If you want to join the main screen or step away, you're welcome to. Does that make sense to you, Marisol?
That does. Or we could do 5 groups if we want the groups a little smaller.
I already have them created.
That's fine. 4 is fine.
So are we ready? So for those of you who haven't done this, you'll just automatically suddenly be in a group. You will get a 2-minute countdown, and then suddenly you'll be in the main group after 20 minutes is up. All right? On your mark, get set, go.
Welcome back, everyone.
We made it back.
Yay!
Yay.
How cool was that? Okay, so if I could have everyone that was the note taker or the person that's going to be reporting out from each group, if you could raise your hand. And if you remember how to do that, you can go over to manage participants, and then you will have, I think it's see participants, and then you should have a hand raise feature. So I have 1, should have 4 hands. Mike, what'd you decide? Are you gonna do it or Emily? Emily, can you raise your hand in the function? Tyler, got you.
I don't know how to raise my hand. I'm just physically doing it.
Okay, no problem. And Jackie, are you the other one? Oh.
No, I just thought it was funny, so I raised my hand. Sorry.
Okay. And Steven, are you the other hand raiser? Okay. Okay, so let's start with Naomi. Naomi, could you just give us a little brief overview of what your group talked about, especially those solutions that you really think that we need to bring forward to the next part of the conversation that came out of the Meetings in a Box?
Yeah, so the thing that stood out around what resonated for the group was the second round was a lot more engaging. People really liked talking about specific solutions and were hungry to learn about what were the other solutions beyond what was presented. And people did like the online format because it allowed for just more discussion and follow-up if all the questions and just points weren't addressed in that initial conversation. One thing we did talk a lot about what people learned and what we can carry over is just the timing of this conversation, especially with what's going on with COVID-19. So, for one instance, the idea around like emergency responsiveness as a part of our work came up, but this just idea around how do we use the urgency in which we've been acting to address COVID-19? How do we kind of use that same sense of urgency to address climate change? That was something that came up a lot, especially when we're looking at equity and making sure we're keeping an equity lens when we're planning for some of the solutions we've identified. That was a big piece too, just how do we keep what is going on currently top of mind as we're looking at the short-term and the long-term solutions. So just impacts of COVID-19 on the economy and other aspects. But I think, yeah, just the biggest piece around just looking at how swiftly and quickly we've worked to mobilize around addressing COVID-19. How can we have that same kind of urgency around the work that we're doing for climate change, and how do we also build out a framework around behavior changes that people are making in relation to adapting to COVID-19 around climate. So those are just a couple of a lot of the points that we discussed, and I can type it up and send it to you if that's helpful.
I'm taking some notes too, but if you have more, I'll take whatever you have. Thank you. Okay, Tyler, do you want to give a little report out on your group?
Sure. So the task force members in our group were John and Sam. I think that with all three of the meetings in a boxes that we did, I think there was a theme around the groups that we met with. There was a lot of positivity, which the groups and industries we represent, I think that was something that we were kind of surprised about. This is something that I think, so John met with some of the commercial property owners. Sam met with some of his stakeholders internally, but also upstream in his industry. And I met kind of with the different policy wonks within the utility industry. And so another thing that we talked about quite a bit was, all three of our industries we felt were sometimes not brought into the conversations about the solutions up front. And so we're excited. All three of our meetings in a box, the groups and the industries that were represented were definitely excited to be a part of the conversation and part of the solutions. One of the things that I think resonated throughout all of our meetings was policies, making sure that we have enough time to implement them, our industries, and then also making sure that that the policies are fair and able for not just one industry to be villainized or be the one that kind of takes more of the load than others. I think that's about all we talked about.
Great. Thanks, Tyler.
Yep.
How about Stephen? Would you like to give a report out from your group?
Sure. So in our group, Michaela, Jasmine, Thomas, Kelly, B-Boos, I don't remember that person introducing themselves, Julie, Tate, Stacy, and Grace, but there were only 2 people, I guess, that are actually on the task force. So they had done some meetings in a box. And chime in, Jasmine and Thomas, if I'm misstating anything, please. So one of the biggest things I think that resonated was the difference in the way that adults were viewing this and the way that the youth were viewing it. They both had different lenses kind of in the way that they were looking at things. For instance, Thomas said that one of his groups with Resilient Denver, we're talking about electrification and, reduction of carbon and those kinds of things, where the youth were looking more through a lens of green space and bike work. And so, it was just an interesting dynamic to see how they kind of went through things. But yet Jasmine, she had a group that thought it was scary, but they had a sense of hope too, so that it seemed like that, the youth understand the urgency, but they think that there's hope after hearing what the city of Denver is looking to do. The other thing that one of the big things they learned, transportation was one of the things that kept coming up, floating to the top within a lot of the conversation. So, whether it's biking, whether it's electric vehicles. Jasmine did one with some healthcare folks talking about the disparities between transportation when it comes to equity, and mentioned actually that, they feel like that the amount of money that we spend on roads and repairing roads and things like that kind of are part of that whole disparate conversation. And so then the themes that popped up to keep in mind moving forward is the affordability and the equity piece. Making sure that in-market jobs is something that can be part of that in order to help boost the economy as we're going through this. Focus on underserved communities first to get them raised up prior to maybe even some of the bigger picture pieces that might have to happen, that there might be an order of things that need to be done first. And then communications between different agencies, and specifically, there was a example used where someone was trying to conserve water with their yard and got a letter from the city that their yard was too dry, but yet Denver Water is telling people to conserve. So there was this kind of, you know, unintended miss in communication there. So just making sure that the communication is an important part of everything as we move forward. Did I miss anything big, guys?
Wonderful. And last but not least, Emily.
Thanks. I figured out how to raise my hand, so.
Yeah, good job.
So I think that, you know, some themes that definitely resonated among the meetings that members of our small breakout group had were a couple of things, or like a few big themes that were definitely part of everyone's conversation. A big one was around access and equity. Like, you know, as we were talking about solutions, folks are wondering what that meant to them if, say, they're, you know, someone who rents and doesn't own their home. How can they have equal access to the benefits of the clean energy economy that, you know, Denver's hoping to build and working on? And, you know, I think another conversation that came up among a few different groups were sort of the question among aligning incentives for some of these big changes to be made within the city for us to help reach our goals, and aligning those incentives versus some mandates sort of requiring certain standards and levels of actions from different industries or sectors of the economy. So that was definitely a part of the conversation that a few of us, you know, really resonated with us in our conversations. Some of the things that I think folks in our groups learned from conversations were about, like one really sort of basic mobility question that Peep raised was that, you know, some of the folks in her meeting had mentioned that some of our transit access aren't actually aligning with when people have shifts out at DIA, and there are folks that are having to take the train and, you know, maybe sleep for a certain period of time out at the airport, or like time their commutes accordingly to even be able to use our public transit to get to work. And so, you know, that raised a lot more questions about accessibility and really highlighted, you know, a lot of the learnings that folks in our groups had were around some of the transit solutions and being sure that, you know, folks have access and can see sort of the alternate vision of what Denver is building up. And as we're talking about kind of looking into the future and what we should keep in mind with potential solutions, Patty had a really interesting piece of feedback and thought around internet access and citywide internet access as, you know, part of a solution that can help more people have access to the economy. It's especially something that's emerging amidst this health crisis, is the importance of internet access and what it means also for folks when it comes to transit affordability. Big picture, we also talked about how the city, as it's kind of looking at solutions, really should be continuing to keep in mind a systems approach. Because something that came up in a lot of the conversations were that a lot of the solutions as they were presented were sort of in a vacuum about what they might mean. You know, congestion pricing might sound scary when we're keeping in mind like the transit system working as it works right now. So I think that being able to, like for city leaders, for us as task force members, for communicators to be able to talk holistically about how different solutions interrelate to one another is going to be really important. And finally, I think that also touched on, we talked a lot about the importance of public engagement and public service campaigns around the city's future climate work and climate action are going to be so important, because something that I know came up personally in the meeting that I led was around folks feeling like there's a certain amount of friction that it requires to actually make a more sustainable choice in their home or in their community, or when it comes to their commute, because of the way that certain systems in our city have been set up. And so thinking through how we make the sustainable choice the easier choice for people who live in Denver was something that came up a lot too.
Thank you. Thank you all for sharing and for having those great conversations. So as you move into the next section and you break into groups around solutions, just think about any of the things that came up during your small group conversations, or any of the things that you heard from other groups that you want to make sure you really take a look at as you're looking at your boards and your solution boards. And just so you know, at our next meeting, you will receive more feedback. You're going to get the round 2 for meetings in a box, and you'll also get the stakeholder advisory group summaries too. So you'll have a lot of reading before the next meeting, but that will be coming to continue to help inform this process. Naomi, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm how long the survey is up for the second meeting in a box for the facilitators to put their answers in.
Jacob, do you know that off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head. We will send that out. I think it is, the meeting is the 9th, and I think we wanted several days to do the analysis. Our next meeting is the 9th.
How about we'll do this?
Remember that. Yeah.
During the next section, we will we'll figure that out and get back to you in closing.
The email from Matt Gray says all surveys and summaries are due by noon on Monday, March 30th.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. Any other questions? Okay.
Any other observations from folks about what they want to carry forward in solutions that folks heard and wanted to call out?
All right.
All right. Just wanted to do a quick technology check, make sure everything's working for everyone and that everybody knows how to raise their hand, since that's come up a couple of times, and we're about to use the raise the hand feature for our next section. So real quick on the raising hands, if you move your cursor and look on the bottom, you see participants. And then when you open up that box at the bottom of that, you'll see everybody who's on the call, and then you'll be able to click raise hand. And Liz also sent out a little bit of information about that. See, Mike, you got it. Pete, do you have your hand raised for real, or was that just practice? Okay, so overview first. We've developed these Trello boards which transferred all of your information. Sorry, Marisol, was there anything else that you wanted to do for wrap up? Just wanted to make sure. All of the solutions that we generated a few meetings ago, and those Trello boards have a lot going on in them. So what we need to do now is find a way to move from everything in there, different solutions, different phases, into what we want to prioritize, and ultimately what we want to prioritize for what the task force is really meant to do, which is for those high order policies and high impact pieces, how do we make those workable from a sustainable economy standpoint and equity standpoint long term. Today, our main charge is to look at 4 of the 7 areas. Those 4 are adaptation and resiliency, buildings, electric supply, and transportation. So as I'm just talking, giving this little intro, think about which one you want to participate in, because we'll be asking that question, and you'll need to raise your hand to indicate that. So public health, obviously we're in a public health crisis right now, and it's probably a little tone deaf to say to public health, here are all the things we want you to do right now, but we do know these crises are interrelated. However, that one is somewhat on hold. Then the green infrastructure, there's a lot going on there, and Liz is checking in with some green infrastructure water people, as well as the consumption and waste. We're working with the solid waste team over in Denver Solid Waste. And we really thought we'd focus in on these 4 right now. Your charge as a group is generally to look at the lists, make sure that what's in there makes sense. Where something doesn't make sense to be on the list, you can move it into, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to share my screen so that you can see what I'm talking about. So this is the Adaptation and Resiliency board. Actually, I'm going to go over here. Something has happened to some of these boards. Outcomes and indicators were moved all the way over. But suggestions for removal, you can, let's say you say, oh, zoning to allow flexibility, that doesn't make sense. You just click and hold and move it over to where you want. Some of the boards are organized by phases, some are organized by solutions, and we want to make sure that you take some time and move things into the phases you want, put things that don't make sense into suggested for removal, add in the supports as you see fit, which is really important. And in general, look at the outcomes on the far right, and where those outcomes don't have any solutions or not sufficient solutions, develop the solutions that make sense. You might also take a look at where there are solutions with no outcomes, and if you see that, call that out. So in general, what we're doing here is we're not deleting anything, but we are moving things, suggestions for removal, organizing these in a way that we think makes sense. And then as part of homework, we'll take a closer look at equity and sustainable economy, and then staff with consultant support will be doing a gap analysis. So I want to pause there, make sure that people are clear on the charge. I've also been communicating with staff who will be on each one of these: Dominique, John, Bergie, Sam, and Peep. So they're all familiar with the instructions for this and will be driving and showing their Trello board. Naomi will actually be showing the one for transportation, showing their Trello board and doing the work for group discussion. So let's pause. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and see if there's questions.
The only thing I would add is you can also add, so based on the conversation we just had, so not just, you know, options for removing, but please feel free if you think solutions are missing to add cards.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And there's 2 ways to add cards, so I might as well show you that.
And we have a couple questions. Do you want to?
Great. Let's do that. Let me just show. If you click on the top right here, you click add a card, or if you go to the bottom, there's a little add a card button in every list. Okay, so let's stop share and then go to the questions. John.
Thanks, Jacob. My question was about the outcomes have dates, but none of the phases have dates. Should we be trying to put dates in the phases, or just leave that alone and leave it for the outcomes?
Some of the boards do have dates in the phases, but I do think we defined in our outcomes 2025, 2030, and 2040. So unless you think that there's a strong reason to have the phases be different, then that's sort of the phase time frame. Although there's some discussion, if we're really working towards 60%, by 2030 from a mitigation perspective. That's pretty aggressive. So think about that in your phasing. Does that make sense, John?
Liz, you sent an email earlier today. I don't that you were maybe making a suggestion to change some of the phasing.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we need to do, because you all have guided us towards some new pretty aggressive goals, both for the near term and longer term, that we need to do that gap analysis that Jacob mentioned. So trying to understand if we're going to get to a 60% emissions reduction by 2030, what does a package of solutions need to look like to actually get there? So I guess, and our consultant will also be looking at the 2040 goal as well, the zero emissions by 2040. However, the economics and the technology changes that would occur more than 10 years out at this point would be really hard for us to sort of model and prioritize. And so I had suggested that we look at a phase one being basically 2020 through 2022, phase two, 2023 to 2025, and then phase two, and then phase three being 2025 to 2030. Beyond 2030, I think the solutions are going to start to get a lot sort of much higher level, almost more on an outcome basis than an actual sort of actionable strategy or tactic. So that was my thought. That's not to suggest that we should discourage thinking about longer term solutions, but the world is going to change very significantly in the next 10 years, and thinking beyond that 10-year timeline in terms of specific solutions is going to start to get more difficult, I think.
Great. Thank you, Liz. And any thoughts or questions on that? Frank, did you have a question?
Yeah, it was just more, if you rattled off the instructions earlier, I was hoping that maybe you could type them up and put them into the chat for us to see as we go through this.
Sure, absolutely. Emily?
Yeah, it's almost more of a process question, but I was kind of looking through all of the Trellos before we got on the phone this afternoon, and I feel like the structure of the 4 different ones is a bit different. Like some are sort of organized in columns of phases, and some are structured differently. So I know that we're kind of working through this in real time, but that was a little bit confusing for me for kind of comparing some of the things apples to apples. So it's just more of a comment, and I'm not sure if y'all have a suggestion for how to make some of the comparisons, but that was just a little bit confusing for me.
Yeah, they were all structured the same by phases, and in some places, staff really felt like the conversations needed to be guided by solutions. I think, however this winds up in the final report, we need to think through from the public and probably political folks what is happening immediately now over the next couple years is really important. And from a stakeholder perspective, I want to know what's happening with new buildings, all in a group. So we just have to work through that. So forgive us for not having these all apples to apples organized. We thought a lot through that and decided there were some strong opinions that things should be organized in certain ways for some groups, and that it didn't make sense to do that in a rush for everything to reorganize it. So hopefully that makes sense, Emily. It's just sort of where we're at in the current stage of working through all of this. Any other questions? All right, so now we're going to use the raise your hand function, and I'm going to go through each one and build these breakout rooms. The last one we built randomly, and this one we want to be more intentional. So Dominique is going to be helping us with the Adaptation and Resiliency one. Liz, since that we didn't have another staff member assigned to that, is it okay if we put you in that one? Does that make sense? Thumbs up from Liz. Who else, please raise your hand, would like to join Dominique and Liz? Give you a second. Frank, Sebastian, others? Remember, we have 4 instead of 7, Thomas.
And if anyone wants to and is having a problem with the actual hand, I'm looking for real hands too. So just Eugene.
Hold on. Eugene, Michaela.
Did you get Thomas?
I did, yeah. Okay, that's 7. Anybody else? Okay, great. So then buildings. I already have Amber, John, Lori, and Stephen in buildings. So I'm going to lower your hands. And for folks who are listening in, please feel free to raise your hand if you want to listen in on that conversation as well.
So buildings looks like we added Celeste, Emily, Jasmine, Jan.
Sorry, who was the other?
Jan,
great.
Jessica, Jennifer, Kelly, and Maria.
Kelly, was that Kelly Shanley or Kelly?
Kelly Flanagan.
Okay, I'll reassign that. Okay, and did you say Maria? Maria.
Okay. Maria.
Great. Okay, so then electric supply, I put Tyler and Sam in electric supply, along with, and Sam will be guiding folks, along with Johnny Rogers. And then Craig, I thought you might want to be an electric supply. Kelly, I will reassign you to buildings. So who else would like to join? That was really helpful with you reading that out, Marisol.
I think Mike's might have a cat or a child on his because he keeps raising his hand and then taking it down. So I'm not sure.
Other folks left their hands up, so I want to make sure you knew I was for the next group, not the current group. I want electricity supply, please.
Okay, thank you, Mike. I'm going to lower all these hands for folks. Okay, who else would like to join Mike, Sam, and Tyler in electric supply? Anybody else?
All the cool kids are going to be there. Don't miss your chance. All 3 of us.
All right. So then, how about transportation? Mike,
okay.
Thank you. Kelly.
Okay, Kelly, Naomi.
Yep, I do have Naomi and Peep in here, along with Alana and Mike as staff support.
Okay, Mike Salisbury. Brandon.
Okay.
Veronica. George.
Great.
It looks like Curtis Edwards would like to listen in. And we've got a few people in the chat that we need to go back to add to groups too. So
okay, great. So let's go to the chat then. Okay.
It looks like Jackie would like to be added to Adaptation and Resiliency.
Okay.
And Jonathan Rogers would like to be added to Electricity.
Yeah, you're on there.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you're on there, Johnny.
Okay. And then Julie Saporito should go with Buildings.
This part is a little more laborious, so thank you for your patience with us on this. Any others? I'm just going to go ahead.
Susan Renard should go into Adaptation. And Tyler Moeller should also go into Adaptation. Taylor.
Taylor. Yep, got it. So if I'm looking at our list, Patty, you're the only task force member who has not raised your hand. Are you with us, Patty?
Yeah, I apologize. I'm going to have to time off, but I'd be with Adaptation and Resilience.
Great.
Okay, great. Let me add you there. Okay. So any last questions on the charge? I will send out via the broadcast directions a little more clearly. I think that was Frank's request to all the rooms once I break you into those rooms. You have 50 minutes, 50 minutes to work through this before we'll come back. And then we want to check in on progress to see how well you're feeling the board is organized. And then we'll talk about homework. Sound good? And Marisol, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jacob. I would just add that if for some reason you are struggling or you are done early, please just privately chat Jacob or I, and we will, we especially if we get it from every group, tell us which group you're in, and we'll kind of keep tabs on everybody.
Great.
We have two hands that are raised. Kelly Shanley.
That was an accident. That was from before. Sorry.
Okay. And Veronica, did you have a question? Veronica?
I think that may have been from before as well.
Okay, great.
All right, so I'm going to open all the rooms just like before, and we'll go from there.
Grace, did you want to join one of the rooms?
Grace, did you want to listen in? You're on mute.
Can you unmute her?
I tried, but I can't unmute her. You must be muted on your end, Grace.
How about on your computer? I think is it *4?
Forget it is star. I thought it had a 6. Let me look that up.
I think this is the problem. We can see you. We just can't hear you.
Yeah,
I think it's on your phone.
It's *6. Try that.
*6. There.
Oh, that's weird. So on my phone, I was not muted. Like I unmuted the phone, but then you told me to do *6, and then a voice told me I am not muted. So my screen, the Zoom is gone. So it says, it's like I've left the meeting visually.
Oh, really? You don't see me and Marisol?
No, I don't see anything. It's just a Zoom screen.
Would you like to listen?
How is it?
Would you like to listen in on any of these?
Yeah, sure. it doesn't, I mean, like, I'm just absorbing this week anyway, right? So I guess maybe you could put me into the one that you think might be the most controversial or most heated.
That's a good question. Maybe buildings.
Or that might have two, maybe it has opposing views, right?
It might be buildings, might be the most heated. And then we could, that's so interesting you can't see us, but you can hear us.
Because we can see
Well,
you.
that's because I dialed in from my phone. Because it's such a long meeting, I wanted to be able to move around if I needed to.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be attached to my computer. So I dialed in by phone, but I went on screen through the computer.
I actually don't know. Can I? Oh, I see. Okay. So Grace, I'm going to assign you to.
Should I rejoin the meeting? Like close this Zoom?
No. This should work. I'm going to assign you to buildings now. Okay. Hold on.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Did you set the timer?
Yeah, it's all set.
Okay.
But I need to get those instructions out broadcast, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
I have to find them. It's such a weird meeting.
Why?
Okay.
You know what I realized we haven't built in is plus delta. And I wonder if
do we do that via survey afterwards, or?
That's what I'm wondering. I don't think we have to take meeting time for it, but I do think like as we're exploring different things, it'd be great to know what people are liking or what they're not liking, or, you know.
Yeah.
Because if we start getting feedback that like we don't want to do good news, it takes 30 minutes, like then we don't have to do it anymore. You know, or more breakout. I mean, we're doing a lot of breakout rooms today, and I think it'll just be, you know.
Okay, so here I am, broadcast message to all. Apparently it's limited.
What's limited?
What I can say.
Oh. Yeah, some of the people were having to do chunks to me with their feedback.
Yeah. Hopefully that worked. And I don't think I can do everyone. Like, is everyone?
I got it.
You got it?
Mm-hmm.
Both of those?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And was that enough, you think?
Enough what?
Information.
Well, where did it go? It came up as a notification, but then it went away. Oh, well, I mean, the good thing is, yeah, it's not in the chat. That's weird, but it came like.
It came, how did it come?
It comes like a green bar at the top, and it says like message from Jacob, and then it starts, but I didn't click on it in time, and now it's gone. So I'm not sure, because then I just went to click on my group chat and it's not there. So I don't know where.
Well, I'll join. Should we join? Can you join? Do you see the breakout rooms thing? Should we listen in, like pop in like we would in a room?
Let me see.
I don't know if co-host you can see breakout rooms or not.
Oh, I see. Well, let me. Where?
Great. Thank you, John. Any questions for John? Okay. Sounds like a lot of great work for both of these, and it just takes time. I mean, we're building something that has a lot there. So we'll talk about homework, and I'll check in with everyone as to how we want to do this moving forward. Sam.
I've got a question for John,
yeah.
if that's okay.
Go ahead, Frank.
John, you were talking about the challenge with equity around single-family homes. Was there a conversation at all about the zoning and single-family zoning? Because while there's an equity challenge in a multi-family building, you can make changes to however many units are in that whole building all at once for the most part, and share those costs among the 20, 100 units, whatever it is. So there's certainly a benefit to having a non-single family zoning. And I was wondering if there was any conversation there.
Yeah, Frank, we did actually at the very end talk about that. And there was a comment that we were addressing that was just suggesting eliminating single family zoning altogether. And we felt that that might be incomplete. Somebody had brought up concerns about what does that mean for transportation infrastructure? If all of a sudden areas that were planned to be less dense start to become more dense, how does that tax the transportation systems? And so we suggested that that needs to be looked at maybe more holistically. I think we recognize the need for density and how density can help with both equity and environmental stewardship. But trying to just say eliminate it altogether, we felt like we just didn't understand the issues enough to encourage that. And so we talked about it and recognized the benefits of it, but we weren't able to really get to a place where we could say that's a solution that we think should be implemented. It sort of felt like it was maybe stage one in a multi-stage conversation.
Frank's nodding. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a longer term thing. I guess I feel anyway, would be a great climate benefit to really exploring that in greater detail. And there's not a real clear bucket it doesn't seem to me there is a clear bucket for that type of discussion other than, your group.
Yeah. Good.
I would just say, just from the city perspective, I'd love to see things that are like recommend further research, or so if there's things that you don't know where to put it and you don't want to take it off the list, but you don't know, like, does it go here and we can't phase it? We don't really know. Like, there may be things it's like explore further or research further or better understand the implications of, so they don't get lost entirely.
That's great. Does that make sense, John?
Yeah, absolutely. And Liz, we did add a comment under that tab that just said we felt like it was incomplete and we needed more research or more understanding about it.
Okay, great. So then, let's see, buildings. So next would be energy supply, electric supply. Sam?
Hey, while it's fresh on everybody's minds, we're just talking about it. I think one theme was trying to make sure that we unify and link all these together at the end. So we did have a couple of those where we were thinking this really fits more in transportation, want to make sure it's covered. The one specific issue I think we had was covered, but we want to make sure that there's some consistency there. Had a really great conversation. Our phases were already organized by year, and there was some consistency across each of the solutions. So we spent a pretty good amount of time on phase one, kind of the immediate term solutions that we're looking to drive, and had some really good conversations about what we can do to deliver distributed solar in the short term, and some of the challenges we would face. And I think what we landed early in the process was great. We didn't have anything that we really removed. We did some cleaning up, but we talked about how to increase solar, decrease carbon intensity of the utility system, and what the city could do to do that, how we could educate and engage the community, including energy curriculum. We had some conversation about how poor the kind of base level education is for energy, how it's produced and how it's delivered to consumers, and what we could do to support workforce development, and expand sort of existing programs, leverage new opportunities. And then obviously starting with what the city has the most control over, which is municipal infrastructure. We kind of left that alone because I think Liz can correct me if I'm wrong, but the city's already thought through some of that from a planning perspective, and we're just saying ditto to that. We had some conversations about, you know, how we're going to meet kind of IPCC standards and thinking about different technology applications, and I think we landed in a good place. We need more time, probably another hour and a half is good, kind of consistent with what Dominique said. We got through phase 2 of the 2025 timeframe, but we got stuck because starting to think 2030 puts us into that, as I think Liz suggested earlier, time horizon where we have to do some imagineering, if you will.
Great, thank you, Sam.
Yep.
Any questions for the electric supply group? All right, so let's move on then to final but not least, transportation.
Yeah, hi, this is Peep, and we had a very crowded board. A lot of people had ideas on transportation. We had a very patient and thoughtful group. Really want to thank them, and also Alana and Mike, who were guiding us a little bit from the city side. We've mostly organized our board into 6 solutions that will impact transit, and then we started working through them. We got through 3 of them. We need about another hour and a half to go back, I think, as well, to do the nitty gritty. You might also want to consider, letting staff or representative take a first crack at consolidating some of our stuff that's obvious. That might be one way to speed things up. The solutions are make transit accessible, affordable, reliable, and convenient. Solution 1. Solution 2 is reducing vehicle trips. Solution 3 is reallocating public spaces, or read street spaces. Solution 4 is adding clean vehicle options. Solution 5 is changing behavior via new options and incentive programs. And Solution 6 is embracing and expanding innovation and mobility or micro-mobility options. So that's what we're working with. We spent most of our time finding duplicative ideas and putting ideas together. And then most of our solutions cards were really more tactical in nature. So what we tried to do is take a lot of the tactical suggestions and roll them up into a broader category so that we had fewer cards, and then the tactical categories were suggestions within them. So that is what we achieved in our time. We did not get to a substantive discussion on supports or outcomes.
Great. Any questions for Peep and the transportation team? So it sounds like everybody is willing to spend another hour and a half or so. The homework as well, what we were thinking about doing is there's 2 lenses, the equity lens and the sustainable economy lens. Those of you who are playing around with labels may have noticed some labels for that. So what I'm trying to think through is next time, what I think is most important is getting these boards in good shape. And then part of those discussions that you have, I'm hoping that you can call out where we really need to make something more equitable, where there's an equity concern, or where something in there has strong equity, and the same with sustainable economy. Liz, do you have other thoughts around that? I'm thinking that maybe the groups can incorporate that as part of their next meeting. in between now and the 9th?
Yeah, I think adding the equity and sustainable economy labels as part of maybe the additional work that they're going to do, or maybe the next meeting is fine. I'm not sure, you know, if we add that additional layer, if people feel like they would need more time. The other question I had as well, just on next steps and process, and again, please, I've said this a couple times in the group I was in, like, bear with us, you know, we're changing up our whole process really to be online and virtual, and so in person certainly would have been much easier. I'm wondering, given Peep's suggestion about having staff take a first crack at it, do people feel comfortable doing that? I really don't want people to feel like we're controlling the process. Yeah. So I guess I'm curious what people think about that, if they would prefer that staff go in now and do any additional organization, ensuring that the bottom line is we don't delete anything, we don't remove anything, but if there's some additional organization that we could do to make it clear, so that the next time you get together, you're starting from a place where it's a little bit more organized and easier to get through, we could do that, but it's up to the group.
Thoughts?
I personally think that would work for transportation. I mean, I think we have the format that we like, and Alana and Mike have a good idea of where we're going and also what things can be cobbled together. It would save us time.
How about for buildings?
I think that would be the best thing, is to have the staff push that forward and then come back and we've got a little bit better organized.
Agree, because I think that will save time in us getting, instead of trying to organize our thoughts while we're looking at it, that would be very helpful.
Great. How about for electric supply and adaptation and resiliency?
Yeah, ditto.
Dominique?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, fantastic. So we'll do that. So I'm looking at the time, it's 4:22. Marisol and I discussed while you were all meeting that it's pretty hard to do a doodle poll. It's just another layer. So what I would suggest is that two things. Marisol and I would love to support facilitation of these groups so that we can help move the groups along in an hour-and-a-half time period to get from point A to point B as needed. But I think between our schedules, we can figure that out. If I break you into groups and you all look at your calendars and find a time next week that you can meet, if that works for folks, or earlier in the week, the following week. So I think that's probably the best thing to do. Did just want to remind folks who haven't done meeting in a box 2 to do that. And then we will also send out an updated schedule with sort of where we're at with the extra meetings and all of that, and what we're trying to accomplish. Marisol, am I missing anything in next steps before we break folks into groups to figure out their schedules?
Well, my only question would be if each of the groups wants staff to work on them, how do we sequence that with the hour and a half?
So Liz and team, do you think that that could be done in the first couple days of next week, or how much time do you need? That's a good question.
So I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I guess is the answer. Everybody's schedule on the different teams might be different in terms of their capacity over the next several days. So I'd want to circle back with the team. I'm wondering, given that we only have a few short minutes left, if maybe it might be better to circle back with the team, figure out what our timeline is for doing those updates. And then maybe there is a staff point that reaches out to each of the groups and schedules with you all the next hour and a half meeting to finalize the boards. I'm not sure.
Maybe we could have people do it for the week after next. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Would that make you feel more comfortable, Liz or do you want to do your suggestion? I just know it's hard to schedule these things.
Is that the week of the 6th or the 13th?
The 6th.
Okay.
Yep.
If I could make a suggestion, if every group could schedule next Friday, Monday, or Tuesday, that would give staff over a week. If we need to push it, I think that's one thing, but my fear is if everybody hangs up today and then we are trying to track people down to get each of these groups on a call, it's going to be really difficult. Versus we can send you guys to your rooms right now and then text us or email us the day and time, and either Jacob or I will make ourselves available to facilitate, and we'll set up a Zoom call. And if for some reason we need to push it back, we can. That'd be my suggestion.
Next Friday should be fine.
Okay.
I was just worried about early next week.
So we will also send you a plus delta. We'd love, especially during this virtual meeting time, to get your feedback as to what's working and what needs to change. So we will send a link out via email. But right now, thank you all. And we will send you into your breakout rooms, and you will organize Friday, Monday, or Tuesday, per Marisol's suggestion, when you can best meet, and then let me, Marisol, and Liz know. And we'll go from there. Anything else, Marisol or Liz, before I break people up? Okay. Thank you all. Opening rooms now.
Where's Frank? Where's Frank and Patty? Tyler belong.
Frank, I believe, was in
Adaptation and Resiliency.
Okay, great. Thank you. I got Patty in there too.
Okay, perfect.
And I cannot copy and paste that, but I typed it up.
Copy and paste what?
The breakout room assignments.
Oh, okay, good. Perfect.
I always spell transportation wrong.
I spell restaurant wrong.
Do you?
Every time. I don't know why. It's like the one word that I cannot spell for the life of me.
That is funny. I know how to spell transportation. It's just my fingers are trained to spell transpiration. The TAT just doesn't. I should maybe just say a broadcast. Please feel free to exit when you are done.
Well, somebody needs to tell us when they've scheduled.
They'll just email us.
Okay. Do you want me to go ahead and send the feedback form?
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you think today went?
I think it went pretty well. How do you think it went?
It's hard to tell. I think people clearly had really good discussions.
Yeah.
I think the technology worked overall. Would you also send a link to the Trello?
Yeah. Video?
Video? Yeah.
Since I did it.
Since you did it. So I hope it went well. I'm really curious to get some feedback. Hey, Michaela. Hey, Frank. Bye. Thomas.
We don't have anything else here, right? I can leave the meeting.
You can leave the meeting. Thank you, Thomas. Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you, Tyler. Bye, Liz. Bye, Jasmine.
Do we need to talk about anything, or are we good for now?
If you have 2 minutes, after everybody leaves. That would be great.
Okay. I'll need to get
I'm
your
just
Zoom.
back to let you.
Go ahead.
I was just reporting back on the buildings team. We decided on April 7th from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Okay.
Do you want me to email that
Please.
to you?
Yeah. Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye, Amber. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye. Thanks, guys.
See you, Stephen. You're on mute. So do you have to leave your board before you leave the meeting, or leave your subgroup, your breakout?
I don't know. Not sure.
Um,
I don't remember hovering and seeing leave the meeting or not. I can't remember if it was on the bottom.
Okay. How'd we do today, Liz?
Good. Sorry, I'm multitasking because I am sending out the calendar hold for our meeting. So I just wanted to make sure I got everybody's emails in there before I forget who was in the meeting and what time.
Yeah, and we have that listed if you need it.
Okay. I just hit send. So I included both of you on the calendar
Great.
invite.
Thank you.
So, hello. There we go. So, oh, everybody's coming back.
Yeah, we had transportation just finished. Thank you, transportation team.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we'll see you next time. Bye, Pete. Bye, George. Bye, Kelly.
Bye. Hey, Jacob, for this email, should I just pull everybody from the calendar invite?
Yeah, that should work. We also have the list in that Excel spreadsheet in the drive.
Okay.
It looks like there's just Grace, Lori, and Craig have not hung up yet, but I think that's okay. They're not actually on, they've just left, but forgot to log out of their Zoom. So, but yeah, any feedback from your perspective, Liz, would be appreciated as we try to figure out this technology piece, especially.
Yeah, I think there's just all these little tiny things about like process that is harder on a virtual thing. I thought the meeting went great. I thought everything went great. It just, in my back of my mind, I was like, oh, we need to tell people that. Oh yeah, we also need to tell people that. Oh, we need to think about that. So it was like, for example, the Trello boards, everybody has access to the Trello boards now. And I made sure to say in the adaptation resilience one, like, we clearly want to be doing this work as a group. So I know that you may all be able to, hey, Kelly.
Hey, Kelly, thank you.
I just have a question really
Sure.
fast. Yeah. Because I'm doing emergency shifts for 211 for Mile High. And so the emails are like, I can't keep up with the emails. Is there a way to get maybe just like one email or something so I'm not missing something moving forward? Because my email right now is just like, it's insane.
Yes, I haven't figured out the solution yet, Kelly.
Okay.
But we'll, what do you think, Marisol? Is there a way to tag Kelly specifically?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I don't know if we should move to a Slack channel is another technology that a lot of people are using that I've heard. I was actually asking a different client, like, why do you guys use Slack? And they're like, well, because it saves our email inboxes. So our inboxes we know are for like this thing. And then internally we just use Slack. And then Slack, you can actually have it email you if you want, or you can have to go on, or you can only be notified at certain times. I have thought if we want, we might need to switch to that.
Yeah.
That would be helpful because I don't mean to miss stuff. Like I did see this stuff before and go in and look at it. But moving forward, I think like that would be helpful for me, at least. I know.
Okay. Thanks, Kelly. Let us play around and kind of think about it. I mean, another option is we take you off and then
just send me one email.
One email or something. But I wonder if you're not the only one. So let us thank you for that feedback, and we'll think about how to solve for it.
Okay, thank you. Bye, guys.
Great. Thank you, Kelly.
Thanks, Kelly.
Sorry, you were saying a bunch of little things like, oh, everyone has access to the Trello board.
Right. And so I made a point to say, sort of in the adaptation group,
Right.
just that, hey, let's make sure we're not editing as individuals, but because they were like, well, what's next? We're not done, right? We only had like 5 minutes left. And I was like, I'm not sure. I'm sure we'll figure it out when we go back into the main group, but not to have people go in and start editing the Trello board on their own because they can, presumably, unless there's a way to give them view only as opposed to edit privileges. I'm not sure. So
yeah, if I go up to business class, there's a way to do that.
Yeah, so we can talk about that. Or I just got an email from the Climate Challenge. They're going to give the city access to Zoom. They have like, I think 7 or 8 accounts. They're going to give us access to Zoom. So, but you guys run the meetings. And so I don't know how that would work if we were hosting and we'd have to make you co-hosts or something like that. But we can talk about how to do that with Zoom, if we need the functionality.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm sorry, with Trello, not Zoom. What else? What else came to mind? There was this conversation about things that don't fit into any of the specific buckets of solutions, but are more overarching recommendations. So they're not a goal, they're not an outcome, but they're a recommendation. So an example of that in the adaptation was make every city agency in the city responsible for thinking about and implementing climate solutions and including adaptation and resiliency in all city master planning. Mm-hmm. So, and climate. So that's more of a sort of overarching recommendation that isn't just in one single bucket. And so thinking about how we start to pull those into whatever is going to ultimately be that draft document that goes out for public comment and then turns into the final kind of recommendation document.
Right. Yeah, I think calling it overarching recommendations is as good as anything.
Yeah. We may just want to capture those little kind of directions or notes so
mm-hmm.
that for the 4 follow-up meetings we're going to have, everybody's doing it consistently. So we just took, if there was an uncategorized solution that Dominique had sort of put off to the side, we just put in parentheses like overarching recommendation, and we just left it there.
Mm-hmm.
But we can think about, do we want to do something?
We can pull it into another, board for now, for instance, and build out that board. There's also, I know Frank's going to bring up what about land use at some point here soon.
Right.
So there's a couple of those pieces that we'll need to think through as well. But I know we
covered a lot of land use stuff in the adaptation resilience.
Oh, you did?
I don't know if he's going to want to pull it out as a separate topic, but there was a lot of like land use related recommendations in the resilience piece.
So thank you. I think we need to think through this a little bit more to keep us on track, but I think a lot of work got done today. I just don't know how much of it was way in the weeds, sort of staff type work, versus really focusing on those higher order policies, and high impact pieces, which I think Marisol and I can help in the facilitation side for that. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. We didn't get super into the weeds in our group. We kind of kept it a slightly higher level and sort of like, and the way that Dominique had organized it was really nice because there was like the community solution bucket. And so there was like a lot of the more kind of specific ways of like engaging the community kind of went there. But then there was that planning solution category that went across all the phases at the top. And that captured a lot of the sort of higher level, like what we need to be doing. So even if we didn't have a very detailed strategy or tactic, the planning clearly called out, like, we need to plan for that. So I thought that group, at least we had the right balance.
That's great. That's great. Good. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll be in touch tomorrow.
Yes.
Get back to your little one, Marisol. Any last words of wisdom?
No, I don't think so.
Great.
All right.
Thank you both.
Thank you all so much. All
Yep.
right.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, you
Bye.
recorded all of that.
I did.